Hi, I'm Jack Baruzzini, and you're listening to The Secret to Stargate, where we talk about the hidden meanings and deeper layers found in the Stargate movies, TV series, and more. And joining me today are Jeff Haecker. Hello, Jeff.
Hey, Jack.
And Lisa Jones. Hi, Lisa.
Hey, Jack.
And Victor Lambs. Hey, Victor.
Hey, Jack. I'm down here in your basement, and I noticed some egg sacs down here. You know, you're going to get that if you leave food out. I can take care of them for you, but I got to go back out to the van and get some special equipment.
I'm using those to grow the pheromones I need. So.
Oh, okay. In that case, I'll leave them.
I do have this weird mark on my arm. I'm not sure where it came from. Might be related.
Probably want to get that looked at.
Yeah. And today we are discussing the 8th episode of Season 2 of Stargate Atlantis, Conversion. And Colonel Sheppard begins a terrifying transformation after being bitten by the human-wraith hybrid, Elia. He is infected with a retrovirus that is slowly turning him into an Eratus bug. Not a great way to start the day. The creature from which the wraith evolved. Dr. Beckett and the Atlantis team race against time to find a cure for him, which involves retrieving the Eratus bug stem cells from their eggs. This leads to a dangerous mission to a planet inhabited by the deadly creatures, as they desperately try to save Sheppard before he loses his humanity. Fortunately, he's able to keep it together a lot better than Ford did. What are your thoughts on this episode, Jeff?
Yeah, this one was all right. I mean, it was a fun episode. You know, had some good action, some good humor. Not much more to it than that, but yeah, it was a good episode. It was fun to watch. Don't have too much to say about it.
It's going to be a short podcast.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening. Yeah. What about you, Lisa?
So first I have to say that the special effects, costuming, makeup people did a fabulous job. I mean, they made Joe Flanagan look super creepy and awful. And, you know, when it starts with that thing on his arm that looks like an eyeball or something, or is that at the end? I can't remember, but he's got like just the little, it's horrible looking. So they did a really good job because you didn't want to look at him. Overall, it's a really good episode. I remember it from years and years ago. I have some issues with it, of course. You know, like, oh wait, someone got infected with something again, and we're just gonna let him he's super strong, and we're gonna let him run around. I felt like it was a compilation of a lot of episodes we've seen before, but I'm not gonna give Atlantis a hard time for that because a lot of those that we've seen before were SG-1, which makes sense that they're gonna pull over some of the same, you know, kind of plot devices and things. I will say Mitch Pileggi gets the, I guess, thumbs up gold star for me for being the most obnoxious. Seize control, never let a crisis go to waste. Jump on that and get his foot in the door. So overall, I liked it.
Yeah. What about you, Victor?
Yeah, I like this episode too. Apparently, it started when Robert C. Cooper had an idea coming off the last episode. He's like, "Hey, what if Sheppard turns into a bug?" And then he told Martin Garrow to go write that episode. And Martin Garrow, you know, from the commentary, he didn't sound super enthusiastic to be given that task. He's like, "Great, another episode where, you know, someone turns into a monster." And so to kind of compensate for that, he leaned into more of the character moments. And so we see a lot of that between Sheppard and his team and between Weir and Colonel Caldwell. And I think that really makes the episode for me. Mitch Pileggi as Colonel Caldwell has some really good scenes in this where he's, you know, kind of warm and affectionate to Weir, kind of shoots his shot and gets shot down. And then, you know, does what he thinks is right, but might not have been the right thing. So I like this episode. I like the bug cave. That was done very nicely, and we'll talk more about that. But that was effectively creepy.
Yeah, I think Colonel Caldwell was probably the best part of this episode, to be honest. And it's funny because they portray him as a kind of a bad guy this whole time, and it just seems like he's trying to do his job and make sure things are running smoothly. But everyone's just so antagonistic to him. I kind of felt bad for him at the end,
Yeah. He just wants to play chess and implement his duty schedules.
He was trying to implement something with Dr. Weir, but it did not go well. Yeah, I liked with that scene. She's playing solitaire. I'm pretty sure that was the old Windows CE that you could get on the tablet computers. It was terrible.
Apparently, that's because Tori Higginson, who plays Weir, plays solitaire a lot of the time on set, like on a computer or some sort of device, and
Oh,
so they
interesting.
worked that into the episode.
That was
Nice.
nice.
Yeah, and I like how Caldwell says like you got chess on that thing, and they're playing a nice game of chess.
hmm
I wonder if it was that battle. I think it was Battle Chess. the
Yeah,
one
Battle
for
Chess.
Microsoft DOS.
Yeah, originally on the Amiga. Yeah, Battle Chess and then Battle Chess 3000 stuff. That was a lot of fun. Of course, you had to wait 6 seconds for you to capture a piece because they had to play out the animation of like your knight walking onto the square and then the bishop walking onto the square and killing your knight. And yeah,
Love that
games
as a
took a
kid.
long time. Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So the biggest thing I would do if I was running Atlantis would be to just completely overhaul their containment procedures, because a lot of this episode, the drama is based around the fact that they just don't follow any sort of containment.
Yeah. And we know they have it. One, the ancients had stasis pods, they had all kinds of things. Two, they've kept Wraith in cages.
Yeah.
And I'm not advocating Sheppard needs to go in a cage, but at the same time, like,
A cage would be nice. Yeah.
yeah, maybe he
Yeah.
couldn't escape.
After everything that happened with Ford, it would be very reasonable.
Or you'd think they could even just like make one nicer, like put a nice bed in it, but like we'll bring your stuff here, like, but you have to
nice
be here
papasan
while we're
chair.
Yeah. bring
you
us a
have to
Johnny
be here
Cash
while
poster.
you're being treated or while we're figuring out what's wrong with you, because you're not safe to be around.
Yeah.
Yeah, this has happened twice in a year. I feel like there's definitely a need for that.
Yeah. And then they hike forever. He only has an hour. They hike forever and don't isn't there a ship or something that could like
Yeah.
beam them down or some, whatever they call it. I don't know what they call it.
Yeah. There's a lot that's kind of confusing about that. Why did they take McKay with them, for example? He serves no purpose except to like act scared and make cowardly comments, and yeah.
It seemed very ill-advised.
This is another example of McKay being misused, I feel like.
Yeah. Like, I get why they take him the first time to the bug cave because they don't know what they're going to encounter, and maybe there'll be like a force field or something he needs to deactivate. But after they've lost 2 guys in the cave and then they come back, they bring McKay along again, and it's not,
Yeah.
it's like, what's he going to do? He's not a doctor. I mean, he is a doctor, but he's not a doctor.
He's not that kind of doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we get the that first scene where he and Taylor or Sheppard and Taylor are doing their
hmm
over the top sword training thing, which just really
Stick
dates the
fighting.
show. Yeah. And it goes crazy and kisses her, and it's very uncomfortable.
It felt like, okay, in SG-1, you had the 5th race where Colonel O'Neill has the ancient stealth into his brain, and then he starts getting, is that the one where he starts getting
Yeah.
stronger and, and
Yeah.
looks like you're very proficient today in fighting? I mean, it felt like almost a copy of that scene. And then you could also go back to, I can't remember the name of the episode, where they all have their histamines go crazy and they turn
Like
into like cave
Upgrades
people.
or-
And
Oh no, the
No,
Broken
no, no.
Divide.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Broken Divide.
is where Sam goes. Sam jumps
yeah.
O'Neill. Yeah, in the locker
so
room.
so you have that kind of a thing where it's out of the whole kissing thing, but it's out of character. And I mean, you could tell he was being weird, which,
Yeah.
Yeah, and there was a lot in this where they didn't want. This is still back before your hero could be, a despicable person, and your show would still be a hit. So they were from the commentary, it sounds like they were very careful about like how far can Sheppard actually go before we turn like the star of our show into
Mhm.
someone that our loyal fans start to hate. And so even after he kisses Kayla, he kind of like steps back and says like, he has a face. It's like, why did I just do that?
Mhm. Yeah, to
Yeah,
let
he
you
doesn't-
know that he knows he crossed the line. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which that was almost 20 years ago. Nowadays that would have,
Yeah.
I don't know. That still might have been too far crossing a line, right?
Well, and the funny thing too is that Rachel Luttrell's parents, I guess, had come to visit the set that day, and so they were they were like, it was the first time they'd been on set with her, and they were just sitting right there, like watching that scene as their daughter is like violently kissed over and over again by. So yeah.
Oops.
I feel like that'd be hard to pull off with your parents in the room.
Yeah. Or, as Joe Flanagan is, oh, your parents are right there.
Yeah.
Right.
Some performance anxiety, maybe. But
it also felt like they kind of threw it in there to gauge wanting to gauge fan like reactions to Sheppard and Taylor, because I feel like they've been kind of teasing that for a while.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Taylor or Sheppard or whatever.
Yeah, they teased Sheppard and Weir at the very beginning, and then they kind of teased Sheppard and Taylor. And I hadn't thought about that maybe they were throwing that out there to see what happened, but I don't remember fans going nutso for that.
They do kind of leave it open at the end because he's, she calls him John rather than, Major. So they do kind of leave, that little breadcrumb if anybody does want to ship them. But yeah, I think that's, from what I remember, I don't think that it ever goes, much more than that. But it wasn't the Sam Jack ship. So.
At least he wasn't sparring with Ronan.
Well, our listeners can tell us if there was a huge ship going on between Sheppard and Taylor. Let us know, because I don't remember that.
No.
If it's not Jack and Sam, then Lisa
right.
doesn't care.
I'm not paying attention.
But yeah, it's this episode also does feel very of its time too, with all the talk about the embryonic stem cells being the best
cure-all.
way to the cure all, because I know that was a big controversy in the early mid 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think it's still a controversy in parts of the world today, but we get the context is we get like all the scientists sitting around, we get the work the problem people scene that you get in shows of this time, and two scientists are having, who we've never seen before and don't ever see again, I don't think, are having like a very heated, it's like, well, of course we'll use embryonic stem cells to cure him, and they're like, but wait, that will just emphasize the bug aspects of his condition and stuff. And you kind of wince a little bit because I mean correct me if I'm wrong, but I think most of the stem cell treatments today are done with adult stem cells from the patient or a donor versus embryonic stem cells. So yeah, it does feel very much of its time.
Yeah, I think that they've found that using stem cells from the patient themselves is actually the best way to go in terms of like not having like the graft host issues.
Yeah, it's certainly more moral and
oh yeah. There's not the whole morality issue that you have to deal with, but yeah, it felt very on the nose. It was like this was made in 2007, and you could tell.
Yeah, and that was also Martin Garrow, the writer, trying to like come up with sciencey reasons and stuff, and just like grasping for anything that he could put in there to kind of show how they were going to cure him.
Mm-hmm.
But in the end, we just get the thermos full of bug eggs. So that's
that's
nice as well.
Seems to work.
Yep.
I kind of appreciated the fact that it wasn't a lot of try this, try that. We focused on him transitioning and the bug and the conversion and all that kind of stuff more than the sciencey, him just laying in the bed and then like injecting him with various things. So I kind of like that they had that let's meeting of the minds thing with the scientists, but then other than that, Beckett just figured it out. Like he got the bug eggs and it was all good.
I wonder too if maybe they wanted to differentiate from SG1 because the next SG1 is where they do a lot of that in prototypes. So I wonder if maybe they were looking to like, well, we don't want to have two similar episodes this close, even though different shows, but most people are probably watching both, so they wanted some differentiation. So maybe that was part of why they made the sciencey part less important in the episode.
It was very much more of a how do these characters deal with the emotional side of it more than the technical side of it. I'm surprised that they didn't even try to like upload him into the memory banks of the Stargate or anything like that because they've separated people before. Like I feel like at this point they would have some sort of procedure for like cleansing your genome by uploading you and then re-downloading you.
Oh yeah. The Stargate has a buffer from the last time you went through the gate, and we can just use that to restore your DNA.
So the Stargate's a murder machine, like the transporters, and
well, it is.
Apparently,
yeah. I think they've alluded to that in the past as well. You know that every atom is demolecularized and transformed into energy and shot across the galaxy or something. But yeah, so another weird thing. So Sheppard's confined to his quarters, and like you said, not to a jail or a cage or something. And there's one guard outside of his door, and he tells Weir, he's like, "You're going to need a lot more guards than that." And so Weir comes out and says, "Double the guard." And so now we have 2 people outside his door.
Of course, doesn't she kind of argue with him at first? Like, oh, yeah, it's like, you're fine.
You're fine, yeah.
Well, she does that, and he really impresses upon her the importance of keeping him heavily guarded. They don't do anything other than just put people at his door. And then she comes back later, and the guards are like, "You shouldn't go in there." And she's like, "I'll be fine." And of course, she's not fine, and he escapes. It's like, did you not see that coming?
Yeah, after Sheppard basically throws her up against the wall, you know. But he didn't mean it. He's a nice man.
I don't remember if they had stunners, if the guards had stunners, but they should have had Ronan with his gun there to ready to, or let somebody else take turns with the gun because that obviously does stop him later. So that would have been good to have there.
Like if you remember Replicator in that episode where Teal'c the whole episode just pretty much stood there with his
yeah
where he should have shot her, but he didn't.
Melter, yeah. But then we wouldn't have gotten to see Spider Sheppard.
That's true.
With all the strength and abilities proportionate to a spider of his size, climbing up the walls, which I thought was really cool.
That was cool.
Yeah, because they're using the motion tracker. They've done this in the past. It's like, where are the guys? They should be right here. Like when they were fighting the Janai, and like it was like, and then one of them looks up, and like Shepherd's like climbing up the walls like a bug.
I did like the scene of him and Ronan training early on because they're because Ronan obviously is like the best athlete around because he's been running for however many years, and and Sheppard never wins. It's like similar to Jack and Teal'c. Like Jack would never beat Teal'c in a regular any kind of fight, or even Cam would never beat Teal'c, but they have to get the superpowers to do it. And so I thought that was a fun scene. It's like normally you beat me, and he's like, "You're bragging." Well, you never brag. Oh wait, yes I do.
Yeah,
they always brag.
Yeah, and the cool thing is that's the little catwalk set that's above the it's above the main set, so it's actually suspended kind of in the ceiling of their big soundstage that they have there, and it's it looks like a pretty long set, but it's actually forced perspective. The catwalk gets narrower the further back you go, so it just looks longer. So they don't actually have that far to run, and of course they're dangling many feet in the air above the set too, and so they don't use that very often because the actors hate running on it because there's not really much room to run, and if you fall, it's a long way down.
Nice. It's always fun to see the behind the scenes tricks they do.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's Beckett is really the driving force behind this. He figures out the problem and he was able to take care of it. Although I did feel bad for those two the red shirts who get presumably they were eaten by the bugs, but he didn't wait too long before chucking a grenade in there.
Yeah, Major Lorne didn't seem too he didn't hesitate, which is probably good, but he didn't seem too broken up over it either.
Yeah.
He's like, "Are you guys okay?" And you're screaming. He's like, "Well, they're probably dead." And we throw a grenade into the cave. Which is really cool. It's their cave set they've used like between the two shows probably like 4 or 5 times already this season. But the CG bugs and then the gooey egg sacs and stuff, that's very cool. Like watching all the bugs just kind of crawl over each other, and so that part was done very well. And because they're it's point of view, so they're doing like handheld cam work, but also having all the bugs in CG, so they had to motion track all that in and stuff. Which at the time there weren't a lot of automatic tools to do that, and so it looks really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Holds up really well.
Holds up.
And I like their little egg scooper. Their little
Oh yeah,
the little egg scooper thing that Beckett tries to use to get the egg out of it, and tries to, but he can't reach. So that's pretty
Bring a
cool.
ladder.
Yeah, or just have supernatural jumping powers.
No, well, that worked too.
Yeah,
Actually, when they were first in there and the bugs were all over the floor, I was thinking Indiana Jones not Temple of Doom was the first one. Raiders of the Lost Ark.
yeah,
With all the snakes,
Yeah.
on the floor, and they use the
snakes.
yeah.
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 So that'd be a Raiders bugs.
Right as bugs. Yeah.
So I was thinking about that. I was like, oh yeah.
You think since they've had to deal with the Eratus bugs and the Wraith on multiple occasions, they'd want to come up with some sort of like raid
Super
for them.
soaker.
Oh,
Yeah.
Well, it's salt water, right? Which they have like in a little cup, and they're like, "Go shoo!" It's, you,
Yeah, like the sprayer, like you pump
Well,
it and then you spray.
and they did
Yeah.
have like the tank, but they didn't
Yeah.
have like the sprayer attachment, But I don't know,
Yeah.
or
I was
maybe just
thinking,
yeah,
like cover your skin, like some sort of armor, so it can't attach to. I mean, we kind of laughed when McKay was zipping everything up, but I'm like, you think?
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, it's like the main issue is if they can get to your skin and bite you, so just cover up well and you should be fine. I mean, they're big bugs, but they're still just bugs.
Well, that was one
Yeah.
bug that attacked Sheppard. We don't know kind of what a big hive of them could do. Like they could have gotten really, and especially it was their nest. Like they could have gotten really. It seems like they got really aggressive and were attacking to defend the nest. So they might have just because they probably do have to, or they may have to eat. Do some kind of normal eating too. So maybe they were just worried like they were just going to kill to defend the nest rather than try to take them as a host or whatever.
Yeah.
they certainly poop a lot because they have all that
That was
orange
so gross.
like poop like all over the cave and stuff. So I thought that was a nice touch. I don't know if that was like squash or pumpkin guts or what they used for that, but
They're like, we need color.
yeah,
I did like the fact that oh shoot, I just forgot. Never mind.
yeah,
It
I like
doesn't
that
make me-
part too.
It
Oh,
does
I know
make
what
me
it was.
wonder what they.
Oh, okay.
It was like the
Oh, go ahead.
replicators where they don't attack you. They're just
Yeah.
hanging out, chilling, doing their own thing until you're aggressive to them. So I thought that was an interesting twist rather than they see you and they attack. So
Yeah. They're not murder bugs. They're just bug
Mm-mm.
bugs.
Yeah, it was making me wonder what do they actually eat if there's no, people or other animals like a big
Mhm.
hive. Like, there's got to be. I mean, I don't know if they just like hunt animals out in the forest and live off them that way, and they take turns injecting them and draining their life force or something. But
they're
I kind of had the
herbivores.
thought of like, yeah,
They did say when they first get to the planet that there's probably a larger predator out there, and that's why the bugs are here to eat the large animals on the
oh,
planet.
okay.
Yeah, and so they're like, hope those large predators don't show up, and you're like, ooh, will they? And no, they don't. But yeah, and then we get like the ticking clock countdown of the neural inhibitor or whatever. And I did like that Carson said, I'd rather give him one last hour of lucidity than
Yeah.
however many hours living as a bug. He'd probably want that and stuff. So they pump him full of juice, and we get, as you mentioned, that 1 hour countdown that we lose all track of like where we are in that, because we know it's a long walk from the gate to the cave, and that and it wasn't like Sheppard ran ahead of everybody, which would have made the most sense.
More
but,
sense. Yeah.
Yeah,
He and Ronan could have just run.
booked it. Yeah,
hmm
got to wait for McKay.
Yeah, they introduced that element, but then they don't do anything with it, so you might as well just not
Mhm.
mention it.
Yeah,
I did like the moment with Sheppard basically saying, what's the worst that could happen to me, when he was begging to go on the mission, I think the first time.
yeah,
And he's like, what's the worst that could happen to me? I die?
Yeah.
Like I'm
Yeah.
turning into a bug, so at least give me a chance. And there was I guess in the back of my mind, I remembered that he went on this mission. So I was surprised that they went without him the first time and it went so badly. Because you're looking back and you're going, why not let him go? Ronan has a stunner, like, so?
Yeah,
Maybe the
I
guys-
mean, yeah,
Say maybe they wouldn't have gotten blown up.
Yeah, but
Or do they not have Malps?
Yeah.
You could drive
do.
in there and grab
I
the
think we
eggs
said that
with.
last week or a couple of weeks. The last time we did Atlantis, did we say, I think I said the same thing. Like, where's the Malp? Why are they always surprised?
Yeah.
Or even use, there's got to be like ancient, like floating mount type things like that they could use a drone. They could like modify a drone and fly it through the gate and, or, go through the gate and then fly the drone from the jumper into the cave. But I don't know.
SG1
Maybe
has
that's,
yeah,
that. Wow.
but I can't fault the science too much because this is the rare case where the experimental gene therapy actually did what they wanted it to do.
True.
So does everyone get it now, like preventatively?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you make a Eratus
Gotta
bug
get-
vaccine.
Yeah, get your Eratus booster. Get a free donut.
They have the little stand 6 feet apart stickers they put on the floor in Atlantis. So everyone's got it.
Yeah. But yeah, I do like the Caldwell scenes.
Mhm.
Caldwell's big offense is that he's put in charge by Weir because Sheppard is under the weather, and Weir makes it clear that this is temporary. And Caldwell's like, "Oh no, I totally realize that." And then, like a few hours later, he's like rearranging the the schedule and the roster and stuff. And Weir does have a good point that doing all that within the first day sends the message that Sheppard isn't coming back, and so.
Mhm.
From a morale perspective, I can appreciate that Caldwell should have waited.
because she doesn't say you're wrong, that these
Yeah.
changes are wrong. She just says you should have waited a little bit longer before you implement them.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think the problem is we keep, like when Caldwell was first on the scene, he wanted to be in control. He wanted to be the person making the call on military aspects, and he's not. And so it's funny, the moment Sheppard is incapacitated or under the weather, Caldwell's like, yep, I got it. Let me do it. And then he just jumps right in. There's no emotion, like no, oh gosh, this is terrible. Like, I hope he's okay. None of that. He just was like, all right, I got it.
He's probably thinking nobody would have turned into a bug on my watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we never would have gotten into this crazy situation again if I had been in charge.
Which might be true.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he would have just
Yeah.
shot Elia like right away and said, "Oh, you're a wraith. Boom, dead. Let's move on to the next planet."
Well, he wouldn't have been on the planet like leading the mission though. So like
Probably
it's
not, no.
it's
Yeah.
more of a problem with Sheppard, being more like emotionally intelligent or not as quick to quick trigger to shoot any threat. So
Mhm.
he might have had his his personal like Marines or whatever, or his personal soldiers who are more apt to do that kind of thing. So yeah, maybe.
We need
I feel
more missions with Major Lorne in charge.
Mhm.
Just chucks grenades at anything that's
Yeah.
a threat.
Yeah.
I feel like that would be an interesting avenue to explore, but I feel like they did that on Battlestar Galactica. A similar kind of thing where it was the one ship where they were very ruthless. Kind of see the fallout from that. So let's get a big Warhawk in charge of Atlantis.
It might be a little safer. He might have
Yeah.
done better at containment, and of course, if they let's say they had put him in the brig, right? Then he wouldn't have escaped, and then would we even have had him go to the planet and save himself,
Yeah.
basically? And so it might not have worked. He might have just been dead. But then the other
Yeah,
two,
Caldwell probably wouldn't have let him.
yeah, the other two dudes might still be alive. So
But Caldwell's going to take care of their families, so it's all okay.
that's true.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
Imagine having to tell someone that, like, your loved one is dead because of bugs.
Yeah, they were killed in, Tajikistan or something by local fauna or something is probably the cover story or something.
Or just
Oh, yeah.
killed in action
Yeah.
and unable
Yeah.
to, with no it's
Training
classified
accident.
details.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Just one word, bugs.
Yep.
I wonder, I'd love to know if somebody has like, the people have like real phobias of bugs and spiders and that kind of stuff. Like, how did they do with this episode? Like you're
That's a
turning
good question.
into a bug. And
This is
it's
before
gross.
before they had trigger warnings in front of everything, like contains flashing lights and scenes of bugs.
I think if you don't like bugs, you should definitely watch the John Carpenter Fly movie.
Yeah.
That's like this, but the body
Yeah.
horror is turned way up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, obviously Sheppard ends up okay because you can't lose your lead.
Yep. After 2 weeks, he just has a
Mhm.
little mark on his arm to remind him of his time as a bug.
I can't remember. Do we see there'll be a long-term effect for him from this?
I don't think
Conversion?
so.
Yeah.
No.
Every so often he'll rub his legs
That's-
together and make a high-pitched screeching sound.
play a jaunty tune.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's more they use the research to advance that plot line. So they use what they learned here to advance that.
Yeah.
So I think that's pretty much the only kind of long-term ramification of this.
And we see that coming up later in this season, I think. So
Yeah.
Mhm.
I thought it was
Yeah,
interesting
good
that he's
glimpses.
the one that got fed upon by the Aratus bug in the first season, and then this season he's turning into one.
you'd think he'd be immune or something, but
Yeah. But bad luck.
He's like one of those people who just attracts the mosquitoes. Awesome. Do we have any alternate language titles for this episode, Victor?
yeah. So in German, we have Die Verwandlung, which is the transformation. And in Japanese, we get Sumiato, which is After Effects.
Hmm.
So I like that. You could just name any part 2 episode that, I guess.
Yeah, true. Consequences of the actions.
Yeah.
Cause and effect.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, before we go, we'd like to take a moment to thank our patrons who make it possible for us to create the Secrets of Stargate, including Marigan M., George U., Amy M., Robert H., and Father Stephen W. Their generous donations at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to continue the Secrets of Stargate and all the shows at StarQuest. You can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give and be sure to follow the show on Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and you can find our video versions at youtube.com/StarQuestMedia. To find previous episodes of Secrets of Stargate and to send feedback, you can visit sqpn.com/Stargate and you can email us at stargate@sqpn.com and follow StarQuest on social media at facebook.com/StarQuestMedia or on X at SQPN. And we'll be back next time with the next episode of SG-1 Prototype. Until then, Jeff Haecker, thank you for joining me and sharing the Secret to Stargate.
Thanks, Jack.
And Lisa Jones, thank you as well.
Thanks, Jack.
And Victor Lambs, thank you too.
Thanks, Jack. And oh, well, that is disgusting. And you had to pick it up and smell it?
You always got to check. And once again, I'm Jack Baruzzini. Thank you for listening to The Secret to Stargate on StarQuest.
Anyway, I'm sorry, but that just happens to be how I feel about it. What do you think?